This is the New York City FC Pregame Live. Tonight, New York City wrap up a 4-match road trip against Orlando City. And now, here are your hosts, Glenn Crooks and Matty Lawrence.
And indeed, I'm Glenn Crooks along with Matty Lawrence. And indeed, Inter and Co Stadium. Inter and Co Stadium. It's a big bank in Brazil. There's Brazilian ownership at Orlando City. There's a Brazilian who's the sporting director or president.
Glenn, I forgive you for being confused when we look directly opposite and the sign says Exploria.
It does.
Because we know this as Exploria Stadium, not Inter and Co Stadium, and we're faced directly opposite.
Sharp. You're sharp. With the Heineken, the Publix, and then it says Inter and Co Stadium. And okay, well there it is. That is the wall right there, which is the standing area. That's become something of the new stadiums being built. Minnesota has the wall, and you'll have to forgive me. I'm hearing ourselves back, so I'm going to see if I can. There we go. I think that's going to do it. And if there's anybody, I think we can still be heard. Yes? Yeah. If we can hear ourselves, we can hear that. So what I want to say to you, Matty, about that wall is that it's the Ruckus and Iron Line firm. That's the supporters groups who kind of initiated the supporters here at Orlando City, an expansion team of New York City in 2015. 3,811, a little less than the 25,000 at Borussia Dortmund, but it's still pretty cool to see. And now you get to see us. What's happening? How you doing?
I'm doing really well. I've just been stunned. We've just been, while you were talking about Exploria Stadium, that was, and it's now Inter and Co Stadium, we were just handed the team sheets. And if they are correct, we are seeing Orlando City's best player, in my humble opinion, Facundo Torres. He's not playing. He's on the bench. So
he is on the bench.
He's on the bench, which could maybe go against, in a way, what we think that NYCFC are going to be doing. I think we thought there was a modicum of worry, should I say, about there being two inexperienced orthodox fullbacks playing in Ilinic and McFarlane, and it looks as though there may be three centre-halves. We don't know that for certain, Glenn, but the way it looks looking at New York City FC's team, they're trying to protect those inexperienced, the two guys, Ilinic and McFarlane, 19 and 17, both teenagers, who, with that tender age, they struggle to defend. Defending grows with experience, and it grows with knowledge as well. It grows with games. So they were trying to be protected from Facundo Torres and Ivan Angulo, who we assumed would play right and left. And it looks as though it's Nico Ladero who's playing out on one of the flanks, and he can't run. So McFarlane's not going to be worried about Ladero's running ability or trickery, really. Ladero doesn't have a great deal of that. He's got guile and finesse and great technique, but if this is true, it's going to be interesting to see how this now matches up.
It's the official team sheet.
It certainly is.
It's got to be true, yes.
I'm just sensing that somebody's going to come out and we've been punked or something.
Well, and if we look at the starting 11 for New York City, if you're watching, you can see it rolling in the lower third, and Justin Hack returns to the starting lineup. And we assume if there's a back three, he'll be in the back with Thiago Martins and Burke Risa. Martins has returned. Santi Rodriguez has returned. James Sands has returned. They were all left behind. That is to say, they were not in Atlanta, but then they rejoined the team in Orlando, along with Tavon Gray and Kevin O'Toole. Kevin O'Toole, after training last night, was deemed out of this game, so he is not in the squad. But Tavon Gray is. Spoke to Kevin a little bit, and he said he's almost there. He's coming off a hamstring, as is Tavon Gray. Gray's a little bit ahead of him. And the other part of the lineup is Monsef Bakrar, who started in Atlanta. He'll be back on the bench, and Alonso Martinez back as the number 9 for New York City FC. Anything else you find intriguing in the 11 or bench area? Tyler Magno back on the bench. And I think that's, he's coming off and we're going to review it in a moment, his substitute appearance in Atlanta. But Nick Cushing had a couple of decisions to make as far as his squad. And I wasn't certain whether Magno was a 100% go to be even in the squad based on what you had to maybe have in a depth standpoint on the bench.
I think we all know, everybody knows, and this isn't coming from any coaches, isn't it? I think we all know that he was in the doghouse a little bit, wasn't he, Tyrus Magno? I think that he was thrown into the fray just because it was almost the last resort against Atlanta United. We all know that he's got undoubted talent, undoubted technique, undoubted ability. But for whatever reasons, I don't want to say at loggerheads with the club or at loggerheads with Nick Cushing, but it wasn't working out. And we do know, I think factually, that if the club had have received any decent offers for Tyrus Magno, he wouldn't be at the football club. So it was more through luck than judgment that Tyrus Magno ended up in the team. We do know that he's a very good penalty taker. I absolutely loved the fact that he was so intent on taking that penalty. The minute he was brought down, he jumped up, because he wasn't barely touched. He jumped up and grabbed the ball and didn't let anyone go anywhere near it, Glenn. And he was confident in his ability to send the goalkeeper the wrong way, because the way he takes the penalty, it's all about sending the goalkeeper the wrong way, because he just rolls it into the other side of the goal. But he's got that.
You want to see it?
I'd love to see it again.
All right.
It's just, it really is
this
cool,
is how,
calm, and collected.
Matty and I presented it on the New York City FC network in Atlanta on Wednesday night. The equalizer, the game-tying goal, Magno, who had not played but 6 minutes all season long.
Will be in Orlando. Here's Maxi Morales taken down from behind. No call from the referee.
That's a penalty.
Now Magno goes in, and it is a penalty. Magno draws a penalty, and he gets up and he waves his palms high into the sky. Adulation, Tyrus Magno, his first minute since February 24th, and this penalty may earn a point on the road. Backs up with his heels on the top of the penalty area as he approaches the spot kick from 12. And he finishes it past Guzan. And Tyrus Magno, what a return to the lineup for the Brazilian Magno. 6 minutes in the opener against Charlotte. Not a single moment since. And in game number 24, he comes off the bench and he levels the game for New York City. He draws the penalty and then finishes from the spot.
Wow. So quite a moment, really.
Yeah.
I mean, considering we hadn't seen him competitively since late February.
And he will have known the pressure, Glenn. Any footballer knows the pressure, but there's even more pressure on somebody when they haven't been in the side. There's the weight, metaphorically, of the world on your shoulders. Certainly the whole team, Glenn. Everybody's looking at him. He showed undoubted confidence by picking up the ball, but he'd have looked to right snickerdoodle or something, I won't say the word, if he'd have failed to score the goal.
Yeah.
Not only because he hasn't been involved, but also because of the way he takes the penalty.
Yeah.
You see, he opens up that right foot and then he snaps it shut just as he's striking the ball. He sees the goalkeeper go the other way and then snaps that inside of the right foot across the ball and just hits it in the opposite side. If you don't get that totally right, you either snap your foot and you send it a long way wide, you don't hit the target, or if the goalie hasn't moved a little bit early, or the goalie fakes you as the penalty taker and goes to go left and then sees that you just snap your foot right, and he can almost walk over the other side and picked it up. So I think there's a lot of confidence in that young man, and I think you've got to give him a lot of credit, considering I think he will feel, and this is me saying it, I'm not putting words in his mouth, he'll feel a little bit disrespected that a man of his quality and talents hasn't been able to get near this side, even at times when it hasn't been playing very well. So I think a lot of credit has to go to Tyrus Magno himself, and of course to Nick Cushing as well for bringing him on. We know that this probably wasn't in the plan. The plan was to have got rid of him. I think we know that for a fact.
Well, David Lee, in an interview with myself and Roberto, suggested that if the right deal were there, there may have already been a move, or there would be one there. But as David said at the time, and this was about a week and a half ago, there's nothing imminent. It's not happening tomorrow, and now he's back in the squad, and who knows what he might contribute. And talk to Nick Cushing as part of our pregame show coming up on the live commentary at 7:15 about Magno. Next up is Tyrus Magno. Plays his first game since the opener on February 24th. Draws a penalty. converts the penalty. And so tell us a little bit about what you thought of Magno and the fact that he took the ball and wanted that kick.
Well, I think first and foremost, it's, I've said before in my press, and I know when you have a guy like Telles that isn't in the team, maybe not in squads, there can be a perception that there's something there, whether it be between me and Telles, between Telles and the club. But ultimately, it's really simple. We have a roster that is really competitive. I believe you have to have that to be successful in MLS. Look at the injuries we have now, the schedule, the climates, the travel. And ultimately, Telles was really unlucky to get the injury that he got at the start of the season, and he's had to be patient to get his moment, right? But I fully trust that Telles can produce for this football team on both sides of our game, defensively and offensively. And his moment came in the game. I actually felt before the game it was a real game that would suit Telles, so there was a plan to put him into the game before. He wins the penalty because of the level of play that he is. And, Santi Rodriguez is our penalty taker. But when he's off the field, Telles is super clinical in penalties. And when he picked the ball up, I was 100% confident he was going to score. I understand players can miss, but Telles is so calm and clinical in those moments.
So there you have it from the coach. And look, his job is to pick who's ever available and decide whether they're going to be in the squad and utilize them the way you might want. We know Magno had a bit of a knee issue, but he's been healthy for a long time, healthy enough to play, training hard, and not in the squad for 4 consecutive games, then unused sub twice, and then finally got his moment to shine. And wouldn't it be interesting if this somehow rejuvenated him, put him in a better stead as far as being used, and then he contributes in the final third of the season in a way that maybe helps the club?
Well, look, man,
I don't know.
He's definitely got the ability. There is no doubt in the world that Telles Magno has the ability to absolutely set not only New York City FC on fire, light them up, light up the field, but the whole of MLS. He is that talented, but unfortunately, we haven't seen a great deal of it, Glenn. We've seen it in fits and starts. He has never really strung a whole number of performances together. I think the word we always look for in good players is consistency, and he's been the complete antithesis. He's been inconsistent, whether that's within a 90-minute game or whether that's been within a stretch of games, which is why he's not in the starting 11. I don't always believe what managers say about we haven't had a falling out or whatever it may be, and it's as simple as we've got a big squad and he's not. Telles Magno did not come to this football club. This football club did not pay him $1.2 million a year to then leave him at home on away trips and then not pick him when there's a lot of other people who are much lesser paid and much less talented who are getting in the squad. There's something else in it. Maybe it is purely down to what I said. He's been wildly inconsistent, but sometimes you need that love and the belief from a coach, that little arm round you to tell you what a great player you are. I don't know how Telles Magno is. He looks an ultra-confident person, but sometimes the most ultra-confident are the most insecure people, and he needs to be loved and cherished and coveted and told how wonderful he is.
And
let's see what happens.
22 years old. He's not a
he's not a baby.
He's not a teen anymore,
no,
but
he's not.
22, he's still a young man. And
he is.
Veteran players are even emotional, right?
Absolutely.
Those that have been a long time around for
I think
years.
The only thing that troubles me is that I know how talented he is, and we know how, not just me, we know how talented he is. I would hate to see somebody waste that natural, almost God-given, if you want to say that, God-given talent, because he is. He has that. We just haven't seen enough of it, and certainly NYCFC haven't seen what they paid for. That's for certain.
Yeah. Well, he scored as a reserve. Now, a couple of things here. This is the 10th goal scored from a bench player this year, and that's third in MLS, trailing only Montreal to Minnesota. And how about New York City? So they're down 2-0 at the half. It's the first time in their history that they've made up a 2-goal deficit or more at halftime to get a point, to get a bare minimum a point, a result. They've 17 games in their history. They've been down by 2-0 or more and have never come back to level the match. So
it's a hard thing to do. It's a hard thing to do. I know I've been in those situations.
Yeah.
I don't have the stats on how many times my team came back from 2-0 down or 3-1 down, 4-2 down at halftime. That is for certain. But I do know that when you were playing as badly as New York City FC were at halftime, and they were 2-0 down, and the 2 goals they conceded, one in the opening minute, or the opening 30 seconds, I should say, the other one in the last few minutes of the second half, I think it's the 38th minute, that hurts. And also, as a team, how badly you're playing. I think Nick Cushing showed great reserve almost in only bringing on Maxi Morales. I went on record, I said it during the broadcast, he could have brought 3 on, he could have brought 5 on at half-time, so the team was playing that badly.
Yeah.
Give Nick Cushing credit for bringing on Maxi Morales, and also, of course, Maxi Morales for having a really positive effect on the team. And then, of course, the likes of Magno coming on as well. That is why every football team, it's a squad game, but certainly in MLS, with the traveling, with the different climates, playing at altitude, if you go into Denver and play against Colorado Rapids, I think this league more than the others troubles you physically in terms of those ultra different climates and geography and things like that. I don't think there's anywhere else in the world really that does that. I know the CONMEBOL Libertadores or the CONMEBOL Sudamericana, which is still the Champions League of South America, and the Europa League of South America, that does, but it's not a domestic league. It's the whole of the continent of South America, because then you've got to altitude in Bolivia or Ecuador. That's a little bit different.
So I'm smiling. I see Joe Bendick's name up on the scoreboard. We had a funny moment with Joe Bendick one day, and that's, whenever he sees his name,
in the McDonald's queue.
Hey, and let's not forget that this happened, Magno with the equalizer, sure, but somebody had to score the first goal.
Nothing that back row on Ilinic or Fernandez can
Here's
do.
Bacro with a chance to make it 2-1, and he does it! He makes Brad Guzan! Big mistake, Atlanta United in their end, and New York City capitalizes, and there it is. At 65 minutes, it's 2-1. New York City cuts it in half.
So, good finish, hit the ball strong.
Good finish, and look, I don't know enough about football, as much about football as I thought I did, because I'm happily, merrily talking away there. I didn't have a picture. I didn't have a picture in my head. I didn't know what was going on. I should have seen. I should have stopped talking. So
we talked to our Spanish commentators, and they were also taken aback by it. Was a bad giveaway. It was a poor giveaway in the midfield, leading to that, and it's New York City coming off this draw. Back-to-back draws on the road now. They started with a loss in Austin. Ironically, probably played better there than in either of the previous 2 matches if you take the full match apart. There were a couple of defensive errors, and Austin scored 2 goals and win 2-1. And it's 0-0, 2-2. And how about this Orlando City side, Matty? So over the last 7 games, they only have 1 loss. That was to New York City, 4-2 at Yankee Stadium. They're 5-1-1 over those 7. But in those 7 games, in every one of those 7 games, they've scored at least 2 goals. Multiple goals in 7 consecutive games. I don't think that happens too often.
No, but it doesn't. Look, this is a team that is very, very talented going forward. They sometimes concede too many goals. We know that for a fact. We also can't forget that their home form recently has been very good. They've won their last 2 home games, 9-2 on aggregates. They've got 6 points from the last 2 games. In the previous 9 games to that at home, they only had 6 points. So this is another team, like so many in MLS, that are wildly inconsistent. They only got 1 win from their first 9 home games, and they've got 2 wins from their last 2. So, and they score goals. That they've got 5 against DC United, and they got 4 in the other home game as well. Look at
their road record is why they're above the playoff line. They're 6-4-3 on the road, 3-5-3 here at the former Exploria Stadium, even though the banner is still up here at the Inter and Go Stadium. It's a wonderful discovery. New York City comes into the game in 5th place at 11-9-4. But all that about the goals that you were describing, and a lot of talent here. But 8 goals and 5 assists are on the bench at the start of this one. I suppose, Orlando played midweek like 27 other teams did in MLS, and you've got a full schedule, and I'm sure it's a data-driven decision.
Well, look, the Atlanta United commentators would have been saying the same as we're saying now in midweek, when they'd have been saying, where on earth Santi Rodriguez and the skipper Thiago Martins? And we know that they were left behind and rested because, as you say, that data-driven ability to look at the high-speed sprints, and how tired players are getting. Facundo Torres, but Santi Rodriguez, there's no way in the world that you'd rest Santi Rodriguez unless you knew that there's a strong possibility he'd blow a hamstring or be unable to complete more than 20, 30 minutes against Atlanta United. Yeah. And it must be the same again for Facundo Torres here, because he's a joy to watch. I love watching him. Yeah, and he's part of the reason why I think that New York City FC may go to a back three today. Looking at New York City FC's lineup or starting 11, they could still switch it. If they look, maybe they're not trying to play three at the back anyway, but even say they were trying to play three at the back, they could now go, oh, well, there's no Facundo Torres, so why not let's play a flat back four and push Ilinic and McFarlane on as orthodox fullbacks, and we can be more compact and solid in the middle of midfield with Hack, Parks and Sands. So it'll be very interesting for me to see how they set up.
Well, it's such a different play. Nico Ladero, who's come in for him, he's one of the top playmakers in the history of MLS, but he's
3 years
he's an
ago
elder
or 2
statesman
years
at this
ago.
point.
Yeah. And he's not somebody that's going to torment you on the wing. As long as you get tight to him, he's not. You can't be scared of him running you, because he's not going to be. McFarlane,
he does have 9 assists on the season, so I mean,
but that's what it's all about. But you can't be. Torres, you're worried that he's got trickery and pace to go past you. Ladero, you're not. You get tight to him, keep his head down so he can't pick a pass, because that's all he does have. He doesn't have that physicality, but he sure as hell, if you give him a little yard of space, he will pick a pass, as you've just said with the assists.
All right, Matty, we're going to sign off now from there it is, Inter & Co Stadium in Orlando, Florida, where Orlando City is playing host to New York City FC. We've got to get ready for our live commentary, which begins in just a few minutes, 7:15 Eastern. It's the pregame show. Nick Cushing is featured, one-on-one exclusive, presented by Ford. And then kickoff slated for 7:40 p.m. On the New York City FC network. We hope you can tune in, nycfc.com/radio, the NYCFC app, or the TuneIn app. All right, Matty, you ready?
I'm always ready. I was born ready, Glenn.
Oh, God, I've never heard that. Couldn't you come up with something more original than that?
My mother didn't hear that either when I was being born.
All right, for Matty Lawrence, I'm Glenn Crooks. Thanks for being with us here, and look forward to chatting to you soon on the New York City FC Network. Good day, everybody.